and with the Indiana Fever today. Unfortunately, we have the horrific, terrible news that Sophie Cunningham is officially out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL.
What exactly unfolded under the rim that night? Sophie Cunningham went down with a devastating right MCL tear, and the Fever quickly confirmed her season was finished. Cameras caught Bria Hartley flashing a grin in the aftermath. Fans erupted, calling the play intentional. Officials swallowed their whistles. The league said nothing. Sophie's career took a brutal hit, but she refused to retreat. Instead, she spoke up, refusing to hold back, directing her words at critics and the league alike. So what did Sophie really say that sparked all the noise? If you're with Sophie, drop a comment. Fired up for Sophie. Let's go.
The hits just keep coming for the Indiana Fever. Not unexpected that Sophie Cunningham ruled out for the season, but devastating nonetheless as the injuries just continue to pile up. Of course, Sydney Colson already out for the season, Ari McDonald out for the season, and now Sophie Cunningham out for the season. That's with Caitlin Clark still out and having been out for much of the season.
The sequence that shook the Fever's season wasn't subtle. In the second quarter against the Connecticut Sun, Hartley drove to the rim, lost balance, and tumbled straight into Cunningham's right leg. Sophie collapsed instantly, clutching her knee in agony while the arena fell silent. Teammates surrounded her right away, and the looks on the Fever bench told the full story. This wasn't just a bump section.
Sophie Cunningham was targeted, y'all. I'm telling you right now, Sophie Cunningham was targeted by Bria Hartley, and it just is what it is. It is what it is. I don't want to sit here and play games and act like, you know, she wasn't. She was targeted by Bria Hartley, and that's just the fact of the matter. And people can act like it's not all they want. I told you guys this girl was a dirty player, and that's all she did today was show how dirty she is.
Moments later, the broadcast caught Hartley appearing to smile. That single clip raced across social media as fans questioned how any player could react that way with an opponent clearly suffering a serious injury. Viewers drew their own conclusions, many interpreting the grin as satisfaction rather than shock. That image, as much as the fall itself, ignited the outrage.
Now look, you can tell Bria Hartley, in my opinion, she launched herself into her knee. She did. And I've seen some of the reaction online, and guys, it's despicable. It really is. There's a lot of people celebrating this injury. And guess what? You can imagine who it is. It's members of the old WNBA fandom, the ones that root for Paige Beckers and Angel Reese and Asia Wilson and all the usual damn suspects.
The referees, meanwhile, made a call that only poured gasoline on the fire. No flagrant, no upgrade, no review. The game just carried on as if Cunningham hadn't sustained what proved to be a season-ending knee injury.
Sophie announcing her being out with an MCL tear, which, by the way, the MCL tear, relatively speaking, is good news because it's not an ACL tear. She's not out for like a year or anything, but she's out for the rest of this year. And they're going to miss her toughness. They're going to miss her shooting. They're going to miss her playmaking to a degree.
This wasn't just about one play. Supporters quickly pointed to a larger ongoing issue, physical plays ignored, and dangerous collisions brushed aside until disaster strikes. And with Hartley, it wasn't even the first incident of the year. Taken together, those moments made what happened to the Fever star feel less like an accident and more like part of a troubling pattern. The outrage wasn't aimed at Hartley alone either. Fans directed blame toward officiating and, by extension, the league office led by Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. The criticism wasn't new, that WNBA referees leaned too heavily on a let-them-play philosophy, leaving athletes vulnerable to unnecessary risks. Cunningham's injury became the perfect example, another painful piece of evidence for critics who had long been demanding change.
This is terrible. You don't want to see anybody go out, especially with an injury, and Sophie Cunningham has been kind of like the heartbeat of this team with Caitlin Clark being out. She's like the first player we actually seen come out and stand up for Caitlin Clark and have her back. So this definitely sucks. And beyond her having Caitlin Clark back, her play on the floor.
And for Sophie, the consequences couldn't have been more devastating. The very next day, test results confirmed the worst: a torn right MCL. Her season was officially finished. After battling her way into becoming one of Indiana's most valuable players, it all vanished in an instant, wiped away on a play now replayed endlessly across every platform. This wasn't just an injury.
This has been an injury-riddled season for the team and Sophie Cunningham. You gotta remember, she had that ankle injury, which is why she's wearing an ankle brace in the game. She had that in the beginning of the season. She was dealing with an injury. She fought back, came off the bench, got into the starting lineup, and she started lighting it up for us. She was knocking down the threes. She was bringing that energy, and us fans wanted her to get more shots, and we were upset at the fact that she's standing around wide open looking for the ball, and she's just not getting the ball on a lot of these possessions.
Days following, the first voices fans heard weren't Sophie's. While she stayed quiet, trying to process it all, her family spoke up immediately. Her sister Lindsay called out the WNBA directly, ripping into the officiating and pointing out that the league seemed more focused on finding players than protecting them. That struck a nerve because fans had already been demanding consistency from refs. And now the family of the player injured was echoing the same frustration. Their mom, Paula, added to the fire in a now deleted post labeling Hartley reckless and out of control, suggesting this wasn't the first time she had crossed the line. Those posts gave fans an unfiltered glimpse into just how raw emotions were within Sophie's circle, while also putting direct pressure on both the officials and the league's leadership.
This injury happened, and Sophie Cunningham's sister was none too happy about it and slammed the WNBA. Maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. It's pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie. That's Lindsay. That's her sister. Well, her sister made this comment, and it brought out the scumbags.
When Sophie finally spoke, her tone was completely different. On her podcast, she broke down the play from her perspective. Unfortunate, but not malicious. She insisted it was simply a basketball sequence gone wrong, admitting she happened to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Sophie pushed further, making it clear she had nothing but love for Hartley, saying they were good friends and that she hoped fans would stop sending hate in Hartley's direction. It was a measured, composed response that surprised people almost as much as the injury itself. Coming from someone whose season had just been taken away, it showed calmness and maturity that directly challenged the narrative being built online.
I know Bria, and I'm actually really good friends with Bria, and I had been waiting to get on the pod and so we could talk about this because I did want to tweet it out, but I don't think that there was no ill intent. I think it was a basketball play. I was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. She fell. Like, there's no way that she would go in there and intentionally try to hurt me. And so I have nothing but love for Bria, and I even told my mom because she tweeted something. I was like, no, Mom, I get it, but I promise you that I was like, Bria and I are super cool, and she would never try to hurt me because there are some girls that I think might, but she wouldn't do that. And so I have nothing but love, and so I hope people stop giving Bria some heat because I don't think she meant to do that at all.
But Sophie didn't stop there. In that same podcast, she shifted to a broader point: accountability. She tied her own injury to a larger pattern she felt was already present across the league. Referees missing dangerous plays while still handing out punishments when players spoke openly. She reminded listeners she had already been fined for her own comments about officials and about Paige Buchers. That detail mattered because it explained why her family's anger had been so sharp. To them, the league was quick to penalize words, but wasn't doing enough to protect players' health.
I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit. For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Beckers.
No way.
I didn't even say anything bad.
On the whistle? On the quick whistle?
Yeah. But why?